even some up into Ohio. Meanwhile, it's got rainfall from Indiana stretching well down towards their southwest, but we're staying pretty dry for right now. Right this moment, a lot of the rain that's falling in Tennessee, Alabama, that's what's kind of headed our direction as the system gains a little bit more energy, moves further towards the east. But it's going to take some time for it to get here. About 3 o'clock, our showers really start to move in and keep on pushing further off towards the east. Not a whole lot left over as we get towards about midnight. That's when it continues on. Biggest storm threat, I think, is between 5 and 10. And then going into tomorrow, there's little pieces here and there, but most of that's not going to stack up into very much. The light snow that we've got through Saturday is going to stay particularly light, and then we've got a lot of sunshine in the later parts of the day. Like I was saying, I do think the storm chance is going to be the one that's the most intense for us, and then we've got also some high wind to go with that. With those storms, we could also see some of those higher winds outside of where the actual storms are building up. The winds could break some tree branches, could cause some power outages. It's like what we see with a typical summery severe storm, but this one's just a lot earlier in the year than we are used to seeing them with the way that these systems are working out. Flooding is technically a risk across more of the region, but I don't think it's going to be quite as intense as what we saw with our last system because our rainfall amounts are lower and the mountain snow is going to be pretty light. Anything that builds up isn't exactly looking impressive. With the latest rainfall data that we've got, most of us are staying under an inch, and it gets lower and lower as you go further towards the north, but especially towards the west. Northern parts of the NRV are only getting 1 or 2/10 of an inch. Meanwhile, we can get more than half an inch around Martinsville and South Boston. That's still quite a bit stacking up. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some localized flooding, but it doesn't look like it's going to be as widespread as we saw earlier on. The flood risk for most of us is a level 1. Technically, the level 2 includes Nelson County, but the bulk of that level 2 is up into Northern Virginia, stretching further towards the northeast. Looks like Pennsylvania, parts of New Jersey, up into New England are where it's going to be the worst. Meanwhile, the storm risk is going to be worse in Mississippi in particular, stretching a little bit over into Alabama. We are only in the level 1 risk, and that's actually an improvement from where we were yesterday, since the level 2 risk did include us for parts of Thursday. Most of us are in a flood watch from Roanoke down towards the south and east. Again, there's enough moisture in the environment that we could get some flooding. It just doesn't look super likely. We were thinking we might get up towards 2, maybe even 3 inches of rain with this system, kind of like what we saw with the last one. But the most recent data has kept the rain totals a lot lower, and it looks like they're going to stay pretty low as we get towards the later part of the day. We certainly don't need a lot more rain right this minute. Saturday, we had 0.7 inches. That's plenty in one day as it is. Tuesday, we got almost 2 inches of rain. We've only had a little bit of time to dry out. Thankfully, after this system, we have a couple more days to dry out. And with the next system headed our way, I think that one's more going to stay as some snow as opposed to rain. Hourly rain chances are going to stay pretty low as we keep going through the next couple of hours into tomorrow. But for us today, it's going to turn particularly rainy as we get towards this afternoon. It's going to bring some showers and storms our direction, but the wind really doesn't pick up too much as that system comes through. We'll have some gusts up towards 30 miles per hour, but once the rain finishes at midnight, that's when the gusts really pick up. Saturday and Sunday, we both got wind gusts up towards 40 miles per hour. Behind this low pressure system, we're bringing in a lot of air from the northwest that spirals around this low. That's why we do have such high winds. It's also why we've got some cooler temperatures coming our way. And then that next low pressure system comes, brings some snow our way, but again, with the latest data that's coming, less and less of that building up, shaping up a little more nicely for us. A lot of our temperatures fall to the 30s overnight, but stay above the freezing point, so that's shaping up pretty nicely for us. Roanoke's at 36, Bedford at 38. Not as great a frost chance tomorrow as what we've seen with some of our accumulations. As far as temperatures go for Friday, a lot of us are going to still end up in the 40s. Blacksburg gets to 39. Roanoke gets to 44, though, and Danville gets up towards 45. So most of us are somewhere in that storm chance. A lot of us are going to see cooler temperatures as we get towards this weekend. We do have some temperatures in the 30s as we get towards Tuesday and Wednesday. It'll take some time for us to improve at the end of the week.